Hello, Emo Social Club. It's Lizzie, and I am solo here in LA at the Hopeless Records Museum debut here, and I'm talking with Nona from Hopeless Records. Hello, thank you so much for taking time out of the night to talk with me.
Hi, I'm really excited to be here. I'm really excited to celebrate our 30th anniversary and just chat with you about what we have coming up for the next year and honestly the next 30.
Yeah, so it's 30 years of Hopeless, which is wild, especially because it is one of the last kind of independent record labels out there that has such a huge roster added to them with big bands like All Time Low, and you obviously broke like Avenged Sevenfold and things of that nature, and you have Scene Queen on there right now and TX2. How do you see this progressing further to keep that independent mindset tracking?
Well, our entire strategy is to build up the next 30 years of what we think that this music scene is going to look like, whether that's punk rock, metal, metalcore, and anything like that. And so we're not just signing bands and just signing any artist. We're looking for the future. We're looking for who we think is going to champion the scene. And that means more females, more minorities, more people from outside of the United States. And so that's how we see that we're going to keep this going, is by really diversifying our roster and showing the world what everyone has to offer.
Oh, most definitely. And I think as well, there's been just so many other bands that have come through recently that I feel is starting to get to that edging limit where we're going to break out of this generic mold that everybody in the scene kind of has problems with, and we want to expand more and diversify. Are there any artists or acts recently that you personally are listening to that you really think are kind of leading the scene in that change?
Absolutely. I'm working with one of our artists right now, No Offense, who's from the UK and is trans and is very involved in the politics, not only in the UK, but in globally of what's happening with the LGBTQ community, and really using this scene as a great spot to kind of start it, because the alternative scene is a great place where a lot of us have a lot of the same views and want to learn more about that. I don't want to say culture, but the struggles there, and a lot of people that are now coming into our scene of music are experiencing the same things, and I think that he's a great example of someone who's very much leading in what he's doing.
I think the big thing too is that when punk came out, it was originally for the misfits, and now we have this resurgence of pop punk in the 21st century, and we have so many more people who are identifying with that than traditional punk for so many other reasons. So it is definitely an avenue for these other artists who have different lifestyles and different struggles that they have gone through to be able to go out there and say hey, I'm somebody who is trans, who's living my life successfully and can do this, and you guys can do this as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, and I think that our fans are looking to us and to see someone who looks like them, who's experiencing the same things as them. So I think that having more people in the LGBTQ community, more people who are female, I think is fantastic. And I'm so proud to be part of Hopeless Records, where I think we just checked our roster that over 50% of our roster currently is female.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and it's amazing for anyone in this scene of music, much less an independent rock label.
Right, and I know that because I'm on music journalism Twitter, and there's just so many people who will say oh, but look at these indie lineups, they have so many more women on here compared to these pop punk or emo lineups, and it's right, but they are out there. It is just harder to unfortunately get them out there because there's just a lot of misogyny and other bullshit that's out there.
It is, and I think that especially at our label, we're not just trying to make punk rock album with female, punk rock album with so-and-so. We're trying to blend the genres and kind of make each artist their own new genre of music. So Scene Queen, she doesn't really fit in a box.
Right.
Noah doesn't really fit in a box. Lolo doesn't fit in a box. Destroy Boys. So we're not just saying who's the future of the scene, what is this going to sound like in the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years.
And it's super innovative to look in that way, because I will say I love Scene Queen. I saw her at a Research Chicago show and I loved it, but I have a lot of people that I know and they're just not super into her, and I'm Scene Queen is what Hollywood Undead was in like
100%.
the 2010s. And I love Hollywood Undead, like tried and true, 100p. But like we have, if you like this, then it makes sense that you would like this other form of it. But you're just being critical because it is a woman.
But you know what? Some of the biggest acts, it starts out that way, you know? And,
Oh, yeah.
and that's the time where any brand or artist, and especially Scene Queen, says, you know what? I'm going to double down on what I'm doing and really force down everyone's throat, like, what I'm doing, so they can, like, start to understand and they can get on board. Like, okay, I get what she's doing.
Right. And I think the big thing is, too, is that hopefully one day we do see Scene Queen more plastered in a lot of these relics that we see here at the museum for the Hopelessly Devoted to You, kind of like VIP party that we're here right now, but it's going to be open to the public tomorrow. And you said it's going to be traveling, which I think is very different than a lot of exhibitions that we see when it comes to at least like punk rock in the very least.
Yeah, so we're very, very excited. We started this one out with the hope that this would travel. And we have locked in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which will be announcing probably early spring of next year. So it'll live there throughout the summer, and we're hoping to do a lot of really cool things in that area around that. And then it'll be living in the Punk Rock Museum in Las Vegas. For anyone that's going to When We Were Young, it's going to be there for you to check out.
It all comes together there.
100%.
Is there anything else we should know about this traveling exhibit?
Well, outside of the exhibit, I mean, this is our 30 years, so we wanted everything that we do for this upcoming year to tie right back into 30th. So we're actually working on a really cool compilation album where it's going to be our current roster covering a lot of our Hopeless Records classics.
Wow.
So get ready to hear a lot of your current favorite bands covering a lot of things that you will probably recognize. We're really excited. It's going to be fun.
Oh, wow. So we're going to have possibly like newer bands covering like old school punk classics in a way.
Exactly. And
So
any
cool.
old school classics and some of like the biggest tracks that you guys probably know from us from Hopeless Records. I don't want to say just yet. Don't want to reveal quite that much
That's
information,
fair.
but it's coming.
I know I am anticipating waiting because I have a lot of friends that I grew up with. I never listened to Avenged Sevenfold as much as a lot of my other friends, but I want to know who's going to cover Avenged Sevenfold in all of this.
Honestly, I think there's a current fight. There's a good chance
Oh.
that we might just have to make an Avenged Sevenfold cover album at this moment.
You know what? I feel like that's very fair. That's very
and
fair.
I think that
Melanie.
everyone would be very excited to see it.
Yeah. So what do you foresee for Hopeless Records in another 30 years when we're at the 60th anniversary? Where do you think you guys will be at that point?
Hopefully I'll still be here, just bopping around, you know? I think that the scene is going to look very different, but we'll have a lot of the same feel that we currently have, where it's this big openness and these very big ideas that we're all trying to make happen together, and possibly our staff having doubled and everything, and maybe this party would not be able to be contained in this museum.
That's very fair. I will say, when I got dropped off in my Uber driver was like, I live across the street and I didn't know this museum was here. It is a very cool museum, though,
It's
for
very,
everybody
very
here.
cool. You know, like when I toured it while we were creating this project, we were like, oh, hey, it's out here. How are we going to get people out into the valley? But once you're inside, it's amazing.
It is very cozy of a space, for sure.
Definitely.
But is there anything else that maybe I didn't ask of you that you wanted to throw in, that you want to include before we wrap up?
Just a shout out to the Hopeless Records staff and all of the artists that we have on here. We love you guys. We care so much, and I hope you feel that way.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nona, for taking time out of tonight and all the chaos to come and talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, sounds good.